I'm Sharon Bill. Welcome to my Music Theory Tuition series where I work with you step by step through the ABRSM Discovering Music Theory grades. I'll work through every single exercise and explain everything you need to know. You can access information about the books I have available to help you on my website. Go to sharonbill.com. For advert-free and longer lessons, you can become a patron at patreon.com/SharonBill. If you can give me a like, that would be super, and please do subscribe to my channel to stay updated. You can support this channel by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/SharonBill. We return now to the topic of rhythm on page 13 of the Grade 1 Discovering Music Theory book, page 13. And we're going to look at, first of all, the semiquaver. And so the semiquaver, we can see, now has two little tails added to the stem. We have the crotchet, which is just a stem, that's one beat. And then that divides into two halves with one little tail, so a half a beat and a half a beat, and then these halves divide up again, so half of a half is a quarter, so each of these now are a quarter of a beat, and you can see that we have two tails. Now, whilst you're working out your note values and seeing how many beats there are and how many notes, how many semiquavers or quavers and so on, because maths isn't my strong point, I find it easier to sort of visualise it and diagram it out. So I imagine that this is one beat that divides into two halves, which divides into four quarters. And so you can soon add up the various fractions quite easily to fill in your beat. And so let me show you how that works in exercise 1. So if we just shuffle to exercise 1. And then let's have a look at these note values. It says here that these four semiquavers has the same duration as one crotchet. Is this true or is it false? Well, just shuffling back again, we can see that it is true because a quarter plus a quarter is a half. 4 quarters make a whole. And so we know that's true, but just using my little diagram method, we can see there's a one beat, halves, quarters, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters makes a whole. And so we know that this is true. Now, is it true or is it false that a semiquaver lasts longer than a quaver? Well, a semiquaver is worth a quarter of a beat and a quaver is worth a half of a beat. So that's not true, is it? Because a half is a longer value, a bigger duration than a quarter, isn't it? So this is false. Is it true or is it false that this semiquaver lasts longer than these 4 semiquavers? Well, just by default, you can see that that's going to be false because we have 1 and 1 of these cannot last longer than 4 of the same. That's obviously going to be 4 times that, isn't it? So this is false because that's a quarter of a beat, and we know that 4 quarters makes a whole. And so obviously that must be false. Now, is it true or is it false that these 2 quavers has the same duration as these 4 semiquavers? Well, it is true, but let's think why. We can either refer back to this little pyramid diagram here, and we can see that 2 quavers lasts the same as 4 semiquavers, or we can just diagram it out and we know, so we're comparing values. So a half plus a half has the same duration as 4 quarters, and so we know that's true. And then finally, we're asked, is this 2 quavers and this 4 semiquavers, is it true or is it false that each of these groups lasts for 1 crotchet beat? Well, we've kind of done the thinking for that here, haven't we? Because we know a half plus a half is 1, so that's 1 beat. And we know that 4 quarters is 1 beat. And so referring back to this little pyramid, we can see that 4 quarters is a whole beat and 2 halves is a whole beat. So just getting your maths head on here to work these note values out and looking at relationships between those note values. And you can diagram it out, you can do it the maths way, and you can also refer to the pyramid chart, all of which will tell you that the answer to this is true. Now we can see there's a little box here telling us to practice tapping these semiquavers while somebody else claps a steady crotchet beat. Well, we can kind of do this on our own because this is music after all, and we need to know how these sound. So let's just think about the relationship. We've done the maths, now let's put it into music practice. And so there's 1 beat, so there's a beat. That's kind of our pulse. 1 beat, 1 beat, 1 beat, 1 beat, 1. 2 of those are fitting into 1 of those, and we say 1 and 1 and, because it's a bit of a mouthful going 1 half, 1 half, so we just go 1 and 1 and to show these 2 equal halves. Now here we've got to fit 4 into this 1, 2 into the half, so 1, 1, 1 and 1 and 1. 1 E and a, 1 E and a, 1 E and a, 1 E and a. It's just ways of finding sounds to show how these time relationships all fit together. So we have crotchets, quavers, semis. So there we go. Hopefully that helps, just to put those into context. And so now we'll move on to exercise 2. So now we've got a little bit more maths going on, but don't worry, you know, if maths is your strong point, great, you've got a head start. Maths is not my strong point, but it's okay, we can diagram it out. I find it much easier visually to do that. So we have a quarter of a beat and a quarter of a beat, and we're asked what the answer is. So a quarter plus a quarter is a half, which is a quaver here. However, we can always visualise it, a quarter plus a quarter is a half. And again, we can just refer to this, a quarter plus a quarter is a half. So let's now do some sums, as it were. Referring back to the time values we learnt in the previous rhythm section, we know that this minim is 2 beats, so a little bit of revision there. If you're not sure, you can always just skip back to the appropriate page, or you can refer to my PDF, which is online, and you can just see that a minim is 2 beats there. So you can just download the PDF by all means from my website. All the information is in this book here as well. So that's a 2-beat note. And we've already worked out that 4 quarters makes a whole. 4 quarters makes a whole. And we could also diagram it out so that we can see that 4 quarters makes a whole. So there's 1 and there's 1. So we have 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So we need to add a note here that's worth 4 beats. And if you remember, that's our semi-breve. So a little bit of revision for that as well. We can see there's our semi-breve with 4 beats. So So maybe have a go at these on your own now. Just sort of press pause. You can pop back into the video to check your answers when you've had a go. It's okay if you go wrong. I always say it's much better to learn by your mistakes. So have a go, always work in pencil, and then it doesn't matter if it goes wrong, you can just erase it and have another go. So let's work through these to check the answers. We've got a quaver, which is worth a half, plus a quaver, which is half, plus 4 semiquavers, which is 1. So a half plus a half is 1, plus another 1 makes 2, and we know that a minim is 2 beats. Let's look at this next one. So again, we've got a minim here, that's 2 beats. Now we have 2 quavers, a half plus a half. I probably should just stop a moment here and point out, when a quaver is on its own, or a semiquaver, it has the tails sort of individually, but when they're in groups, we beam those tails together into like a bar, a beam. There are rules about how we do that, and we'll look into that more, but you can see there's still those 2 tails, they just all join together in a beam now. So back onto the maths. So we've got our minim, which is 2, a half plus a half, those 2 together give us 1 beat. And then we know that 4 quarters, we've already done that working out, gives us another beat. So we have 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. There we go. That's our semi-breve, our 4-beat note. So we have our 2-beat minim and our 4-beat semi-breve there. And then finally, let's try this last one. We have a minim, which is 2, and a crotchet, which is 1. And then we have 4 semiquavers. We know that 2 semiquavers equals a quaver, and 4 semiquavers is the same as 2 quavers, which is a crotchet. So 2 plus 1 is 3, plus another 1 is 4, and there is our semi-breve 4 beats there. I hope this is helpful to your studies. Please do like and subscribe to stay updated. If you'd like to support this channel, you can buy me a coffee, and for advert-free lessons you can become a patron. Do visit my website where you'll find many resources available to help you. Visit sharonbill.com. Thanks for watching. Bye.